I want to ask you about a word that is perhaps one of the most loaded in the entire spiritual vocabulary: enlightenment. It is one of those concepts that has traveled often from the East and has become a goal, a prize to be won, a final destination for the weary soul. But what does it actually mean if we are to be rational, sane human beings and not simply get lost in irrational fantasy, to be enlightened? Enlightened about what? Please, let's ask this question together, seriously. I could, for instance, say that I am enlightened about my relationship with another. This would mean that I have finally understood with a profound and unshakable clarity my actual relationship with that person, however intimate we may be. I perceive that what I call relationship is in fact based entirely on an image I hold of that person, and she in turn holds an image of me. This image isn't some vague idea. It has been painstakingly put together over many years, built by my constant reactions, by my demand for comfort, by my boredom, my irritation, the nagging, the pleasure, the shared memories, all the complex and often contradictory machinery of living together. So this image is built piece by piece, and she has built one about me, which means our actual relationship is not between two living human beings at all, but between these two images, which is an obvious fact when I look at it. And this fabrication, this interaction between two sets of memories is what we tragically call love or relationship. Now, if I perceive the truth of this, the absolute fact of it without any distortion, I might be tempted to say I am enlightened about my relationships. Or I could say I am enlightened about violence. I might see, with eyes that are finally clear, the entire movement of violence, not just the brutal physical act, but its subtle, hidden roots within myself. I see how comparison breeds violence, how competition, which is the very structure of our society, is a form of violence. I see how my desire to be something, to become successful, to be better than another, is the very seed of aggression. I see how conformity, imitating a pattern, is a violence against the self. I see this whole structure, and I could say I am enlightened about violence. I might even say I am enlightened about sorrow, having seen how it arises from self-pity, from attachment, and from the movement of thought and time, and in seeing its root, there is the ending of sorrow. But we both know, you and I, that this is not what people mean when they chase this grand idea. They mean something else entirely, don't they? They are not speaking of clarity about a particular psychological fact. They are implying an ultimate state, a final arrival, a permanent status, which is what allows a person to stand up and say, I am enlightened, and I will tell you about it. Come to me. And you, because you are perhaps gullible, or more likely because you are in great pain and confusion, say, yes, tell me all about it. Give me the answer. Show me the way. This, I feel, is the primary trap the moment the profound truth is turned into a grotesque caricature. Because the instant a person declares, I am enlightened, they are not. The very statement is an act of the self, an act of supreme vanity. It is precisely like a man announcing to a crowd, I am a truly humble person. The moment he says it, you know he hasn't the slightest understanding of what humility is. Because humility is not a quality the eye can possess. It is not the opposite of vanity, something you can cultivate, practice, and achieve. Humility, rather, is the total absence of vanity, the complete cessation of the I, which compares, which measures, which seeks to become. When vanity ends, the other is. In the same way, the person who says, I've achieved enlightenment, has only achieved an idea. They have merely decorated their own ego with a new, shiny, spiritual sounding word. And what do these people who claim this status inevitably do? They sell you a system. They say you must go through step by step, that you must practice this, do that, don't do this, become my pupil, and I will tell you what to do. I will give you a new Indian name, or a new Christian name, or a new set of robes, and you will join my special group. And you, a kind human being who is suffering, accept this nonsense. You trade one form of conditioning, your societal, cultural conditioning, for a new spiritual conditioning, but it is a cage all the same. This entire structure of the guru and the follower, of the one who knows and the one who does not, is built upon a single, fundamental, and perhaps catastrophic misunderstanding. It is built upon the assumption that this ultimate thing, this illumination, this voice of truth, is a matter of time. They claim to have come to it through time, gradually, perhaps even life after life if you believe in reincarnation. They present it as a process of experience, a journey of accumulating knowledge, a constant movement from the past through the present towards a future goal, a cycle of becoming. So, if we are interested in this, if we really want to go into the heart of this question, we must ask, is enlightenment, this ultimate understanding, a matter of time? Is it a gradual process, a process of evolution, of slowly, day by day, becoming that? Is it something you achieve at the end of the journey? Because if it is, then we must understand the nature of time. Not the time by the clock, not chronological time, but the psychological structure within our own minds that has accepted time as the means to a psychological end. This is the real core of it, isn't it? The feeling that I'm not that now, but I will be that in the future. This is the movement of hope, the movement of desire, which says, if I practice, if I strive, if I follow the system, I will ultimately get there. This becoming is rooted so deeply in our minds that it conditions all our thinking, all our activity. We are always using the present as a means to an end, a stepping stone to a future glory. This is the very definition of becoming. But I must ask, and I ask you to look at this with me, is there actually such a thing as psychological becoming, or is it an illusion? I am violent, that is a fact. I then project an idea called non-violence, which is the opposite. I say, I will become non-violent. In that very movement, I have created duality, haven't I? I have created the violent, which is the fact, and the non-violent, which is the non-fact, the idea. And now I'm caught in a terrible conflict between what is and what should be. Then I say, I must control myself, I must suppress this violence, I must analyze it, I must go to a psychologist, I must have a psychotherapist, and so on endlessly. But what if I don't create the opposite? What if I see that the non-violence is just a projection, an escape from the fact? The non-fact has no value whatsoever. The only thing that has value, the only reality, is the fact, which is I am violent. Now, can I look at that fact? Can I observe the whole movement of violence in me, the anger, the jealousy, the hate, the competition, the deep-seated desire to imitate and conform? Can I observe it without any direction, without any motive to change it, without wanting to become non-violent? Can I just see it as it is? If I do that, if you do that, then there is the end of violence. It is an immediate perception, and that very perception is the action. There is no interval. I wonder if you understand this. This movement from what is to what should be is the very essence of psychological time, and it is the root of our entire human conflict. We are conditioned to believe that illumination, this ultimate thing, is a matter of time, a matter of evolution. We look at the so-called enlightened people, the saints, the Maharshis like Ramana Maharshi, man who sat in silence, or the great teachers, and we are told they attained this state, implying they came to it through a gradual process. They supposedly practiced, they meditated, they renounced, and life after life they polished the eye until it was gone. This is the story we are sold, and it is a story that gives us tremendous hope because it means that I, in my confusion and sorrow, can also one day get there. But I must ask you, is this true? Is this profound sense of a mind that has no conflict, no sense of striving, no achieving, no me at the center of it, is that the result of a process? Let's look at this mechanism of becoming, which is rooted so deeply in our minds that it conditions our entire life. I am insecure, which is a fact, and I want to be secure. I see the world is chaotic, economic instability, political turmoil, relationships failing, and I am frightened. So I project an idea of security. Perhaps it is a belief in God, perhaps it is a belief in a political system, perhaps it is the security of having $1 million in the bank, or the security of being enlightened. The moment I project that idea, I have created a duality, and therefore I am in conflict, striving to move from my fact insecurity to my non-fact, the idea of security. This is the movement of becoming, and it is entirely within the field of time. Or look at our modern obsession with the self. I feel lonely, which is a devastatingly painful fact. So I project an idea of being connected, which I then try to achieve by accumulating followers on social media, by being liked, by conforming to a group. I am constantly moving away from the fact of my loneliness, using time and activity as a means to become connected, but all I am doing is distracting myself from the fact, never actually ending the loneliness itself. This becoming and the not becoming, which is just its opposite, are two sides of the same coin. This entire structure is built on the acceptance of time as a means of psychological change. But we are asking a much more fundamental question. Can the mind, can the brain, which is the result of 1,000,000 years of evolution, of time, can this whole human structure, nervous and psychological, be free of this burden? Can it step out of the stream of psychological time altogether so that you see something clearly and that very perception is immediate action? This is what I mean when I say perception is action. We are used to something entirely different, aren't we? We are used to perception, then a long interval, and then action. In that interval is where all our mischief lies. I perceive that I am violent or angry. Then the interval begins. In that gap, thought comes in and says, "This is bad. I must not be angry. How do I get rid of it? I will practice non-anger. I will count to 10. I will follow a guru who tells me to be peaceful." In that interval, I create the idea, the opposite, the method, the system. And that interval is time. That interval is conflict. That interval is the me, as the controller trying to shape the me, which is angry. It is a house divided against itself, and therefore it is a state of perpetual war. But what if there is no interval? What if, in the moment of anger, there is a total, choiceless observation of that fact? Not I am angry, but just the perception of the rising energy called anger. In that pure seeing, without the observer who says, "I like this" or "I dislike this," without the motive to change it, the fact itself undergoes a radical transformation. The seeing is the ending of it. This is an immediate action, and this action is invariably rational, sane, and logical. It is the action from the interval, the action born of an idea, of a motive, of a future goal, that is irrational and creates endless confusion. This understanding that illumination is not of time goes against the entire grain of our religious and psychological world. It invalidates the entire structure of a gradual path to God. The Christian, with his soul that must be purified through belief and ritual to eventually meet his Savior. The Hindu, with his concept of Atman, the individual self, which must, through countless lifetimes, burn away karma to realize it is Brahman, the ultimate. It goes against every self-help book that gives you a 5-step plan to happiness. All of these are built on the foundation of psychological time, on the idea of becoming. They're all promising you a future reward for your present effort. But we are pointing out something entirely different. We are saying that truth or reality or whatever name you give it, which is meaningless anyway, is not something to be achieved through time. It can never be achieved by the I, because the I is the very movement of time, the bundle of past memories projecting a future. Therefore, this ultimate thing cannot be experienced, because experience implies an experiencer, a me who is separate, who is accumulating, who is remembering, which is all the movement of time. This means you cannot practice your way to truth. You cannot meditate your way to it if by meditation you mean a system of sitting, breathing, and disciplining the mind in order to get something in the future. That is just another form of becoming. This truth, this illumination, is a state of being in which time, as me, has come to a total stop. It is there or it is not there. It is not a goal at the end of a long, weary road. It is in the very first step, or rather, it is in the seeing that there is no road to it at all. Thank you for joining me in this inquiry. If this reflection resonated with you, Please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel for more explorations into these fundamental questions.